Martin Gresco here, and this is part 2 of a video series where we're discussing "Ya Mama Don't Dance" and the rock and the blues piano techniques that we can use to play that song, as well as use in a lot of other rock and blues and country and even gospel songs. So today's lesson is going to focus on the 8 bars of the intro. We'll be talking about the blues scale. We'll be talking about tremolos, and also we'll be talking about a left-handed boogie pattern. And when it comes to left-handed boogie patterns, there are dozens of them, but we'll just discuss a couple of basic ones here in this video. In this lesson, we're going to review the major scale. I'm going to show you the blues scale, and the blues scale is where we'll be taking some of the notes for the left-handed boogie pattern that I'm going to show you. And that's the bulk of the introduction. And then there's one lick between measure 7 and 8 at the end of the introduction that I'll show you that involves the use of a tremolo. And a tremolo is actually a pretty good technique when you're playing blues and jazz, rhythm and blues, rock. You hear it a lot. But you also will hear it in country, honky-tonk music, and even in gospel music. Again, the lines between the various genres of music are not hard and fast because everything is just kind of fused together these days. That's a good thing, I think. So let's review the C major scale. It is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Or we could use the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. All right, so to get the blues sound, essentially what you want to do is you want to flat, that is to take down or go down by a half step, the 3rd degree of the scale and the 5th degree of the scale and the 7th degree of the scale. So if you're playing a C major scale, you have C, D, E, and then to make that flat, you just take it down to the black key immediately to the left. That's E flat. And then if you go to the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the G, then you take that down a half step. That's G flat. And then finally for the 7th, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the B, and you take the B down a half a step. So we're going to have E flat, G flat, and B flat as part of the blues scale. All right, so the blues scale is actually the C, the E flat, F, G flat, G, B flat, and C. And that gives you the sound that you hear in a lot of blues melodies. So that's the blues scale. So we'll be using the flat 3rd out of that to come up with the little boogie lick. Now there's all kinds of left-hand boogie woogie techniques, I'll call them. And so for this one, the guitar actually plays the entire introduction. But what I've done is I've just kind of ripped that off for the piano because maybe if you were in a situation with a band and there wasn't a guitar, maybe it's bass and drums and piano, then you could play this lick. And then you can reinforce the lick during the verses, which is how I would do it. If I were in the band with a guitar player and he's playing the introduction, I would let him have it. But then when we get to the first chorus, I would actually do the lick along with him. So here's what the lick is. It starts on C. I'm going to play these in octaves. So I've got my left hand pinky on this C. I've got my right hand thumb on this C. And then the lick is C, E flat, E, G, and A. And then you just swing the notes like this. Now, I have included 3 other variations, and all of this is in a transcript, by the way, that you can get from clicking on the link below this video. And I'm also going to include an MP3 with just the bass and the drums on it. And it'll go for several measures. It'll have a click at the very beginning so that you can practice the lick. Or the other licks that I'm about to show you. Okay? So the first variation is just adding 1 extra note. So we have, we're going to come back down and hit the G. So this is how that would sound. All right, so that's variation 2. The first one was, and you can carry that through the keys. Remember, we're using the C7 chord, the F7 chord, the G7 chord. So you'll need that little pattern for all of those chords. Now, the variation, same thing. All right, so the next variation is a little bit harder, and I'm going to be doing that only with my right hand. And I think this sounds actually a little bit more like, in reality, what the guitar is playing. I call it double stops. It's whenever a guitar player, or any stringed instrument player for that matter, lays down 2 notes at one time. On the piano, we do it all the time, so I don't really think of that as a double stop, but I'm calling it that because on a guitar, when they would lay down 2 notes like this at the same time, and I get that actually, it's violin language. They talk about playing double stops. All right, so here's a variation where my thumb is on C, my pinky is on G, and so I play those together. Then the middle finger of my right hand is on this E flat, and my pinky is on this G, and then I'm going to slide from the E flat to the E. So I have, and then the next part, I'm putting my second finger of my right hand on this G, my pinky is on the C, and then I'm going to play the G and the C together and come up and hit the A, while still holding on to that C with my pinky. So that is a variation that sounds like this. So you can see that really sounds a lot more like what the guitar is actually doing on the original track. And then finally, the last variation I'd like to show you is just adding 1 more note. So we have this, and then we come back down and hit that G. So that would sound like this. I'll try to slow it down here. So any of those you could get away with playing. If it were me in a performance situation and I have a guitar player in the band, I let the guitar player play the intro. When that first chorus comes around, then I'm going to play along with the band. And then as we get into the song, I'm probably going to go into the... And then obviously there are some right hand things that we could do. And that brings up the lick between measure 7 and measure 8. And all we're going to do here is we're going to play the interval of a sixth. Starting, my thumb is on this E. Count up 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to do a tremolo. And all a tremolo is where you either repeat the same note or, in this case, 2 notes very rapidly. Kind of got that honky-tonk sound. And so the first part of the lick is... And then we're going to walk that down. So we have E and C, G and B flat, C and A, B flat and G. So you roll at the top, roll at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to start the track and I'm going to play the entire intro again. This time I'll be adding that little lick, and that'll be it for video 2. And stay tuned because video 3 is on the way. Thanks for watching.